Dirt roads to rock crawling, two-buck chuck to screaming eagle, moonshine to 50-year-old single malt. We talk about it all here on Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey with your hosts, Jason and Chris.
Welcome to Wheeling Wine and Whiskey Podcast, episode number 174.
Oh my God, we're getting
clear right, coming at you. Hey, speaking of four, you know they say that in golf. You know why they say that in golf?
So you don't get hit by a golf ball?
Yeah, but it's a short version of saying B4. It hits you in the frickin' melon
Or the nuts.
Right.
I should have said do.
Should have said two. That's right. Oh, good one. So, hey, the golf tournament's coming up at Trail here.
That's right.
Really quick.
You've been practicing.
I have been practicing. I'm looking forward to this. We have a real chance at winning this thing.
You may podium.
May podium. I could podium at Trail Hero. That would be freaking awesome. And get a laser nut trophy.
There you go.
Get a real laser nut trophy. Because, you know, I'm not going to win one at Ultra 4, so.
I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't like racing fast.
Just
now, maybe
lift.
cone dodging in the future.
There you go. You get your four-wheel steer car.
Four-steer buggy. You know, I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, we've been gearing up for the Trail Hero Golf Tournament that's coming up in just this episode is going to air the 20th.
Right.
So
10 days before you depart.
It is really quick. Coming up, the Trail Hero Golf Tournament's on the 3rd. Really looking forward to that, playing the number one golf course in Utah.
There's only one golf course in Utah.
No. There's a lot of golf courses.
Oh, there are?
I mean, this place, you haven't seen it, but this Sand Hollow Resort is freaking epic, dude.
It's a desert, dude.
It's got,
Who builds
I know.
A golf course in Palm Springs in California.
Exactly. There's a lot of desert golf courses that are super cool. So you don't have any trees to hit. You don't have to worry about hitting a tree.
The snakes.
You know? Yeah.
Tarantulas.
Snakes.
What are those things? Scorpion things? Gophers.
Roadrunners. I don't think they have roadrunners there.
Raccoons, skunks, cougars.
There's definitely cougars there. I have seen some cougars.
Cougar in the car?
There's cougars there, but they're not the kind of cougar you're thinking about, Chris. Anyways, mountain lions.
Oh, boy.
So
how do we get over there?
I don't know. But let's, hey, Trail Heroes coming up. If you're not signed up, it's too late to sign up, but you need to show up because you can sign up on site. The runs you may want may be filled up, but there is plenty to do. The Trail Hero Music Fest is there, and I know they're selling tickets for that. Daryl Worley on Thursday night, Friday night, Colt Ford, Saturday night, Filter, with a bunch of other bands that are opening for them, up-and-coming bands. It just, I mean, this goes on and on. The Sand Drags, of course, the professional Trailbreaker. The Trailbreaker is so freaking cool watching these guys defy gravity. I mean, you can't even walk this stuff if you had a ladder and these cars are driving up it. The amateur rock crawling, we're going to see how James and I do in that.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun. I mean, it just goes on and on. So you got trails in the morning. There's always something to do in the afternoon. There's the Beaten on Baby beach party. It is just, there's something for everybody. You got the lake there. It's just,
Sand
and then the
dunes,
vendor
rock
show.
crawling.
Let's not forget about the vendor show. It's
movie night.
The vendor show, going back to the vendor show real quick, Chris, anybody that wants an Element fire extinguisher, we have become a vendor for Element fire extinguisher. Right. So we're having a booth there with Johnny at Dirtbag Clothing and Kobe from Tire Right. And we are going to have a booth right there with them. And we'll be handing out Wheeling Wine and Whiskey stickers.
That's right.
And we will have Element fire extinguishers for sale. So
we'll take credit cards and cash.
Yeah, right? We'll take anything. Whatever. IOUs, bourbon, hay for Lorenzo. We are part of the bartering community.
Perfect.
So hopefully we will have some sort of discount. I don't know what that's at yet, so to be determined, but we will have some show special. So if you're looking for an Element fire extinguisher, and if you don't know what an Element fire extinguisher is, you need to go back and listen to the episode with Rob Calisi. Lorenzo, look that up right now, because that was a great episode, and you could learn all about the Element fire extinguisher and see why you need one in your buggy or Jeep or even Toyota. Everybody should have some sort of fire extinguisher in their rig. So the vendor show is super cool because it starts kind of on Thursday, but Saturday is the big day. I plan on being in the booth Saturday, part of the day on Friday, wheeling early part of the week. We just go out day and night, and it's so much fun. We are camping in the Sandpit campground, so look for the big group camp. I think there's 4 or 5 group camps in the Sandpit campground, which is just down from the vendor row. So if you want to come by, I'm pretty sure I'll have plenty of libations, and we always have a ton of food, and just it's a fun time. So come find us in the Sandpit campground, and we'd love to see you and say hi. If not, come say hi to me at the vendor show. I don't know, Chris, are you going to be there? Are we just going to?
I am not going to be there.
You are not going to be there. There it is. Surprise, newsflash. Chris will not be a trail hero. Okay.
I need to save some vacation.
I know.
I don't have shit for vacation time right now.
You're going to be at KOH 2023, though,
I am
right?
going to be at KOH.
You're saving up for that, so that's fine. So I get it. It is, necessary that you got to save up some vacation time and get it. And it is a long ways away. And with the cost of fuel and everything, yeah. So Trail Hero 2022, October 3rd through the 9th. If you are going, look for me, hit me up, DM me, cell phone works there. If you don't have my number, you should by now. You can DM me on IG. I'll be checking it and hopefully doing some live feeds there. That was fun. Amber, night run.
Oh, that's right.
Rolling over twice within 100 feet or something.
All right, Lorenzo just handed me a sheet of paper.
Well, it's about freaking time, Lorenzo. It took you forever. Why did it take you so long to find that episode?
It was
number?
deep. We had to go deep.
Real. It is a long time ago.
Episode 60.
60. Rob Calisi with Element Fire Extinguisher. Episode 60.
Yeah, that's going way back.
Wow.
Way back time machine. April 1st of 2022? No, not 2022.
That's
when we went live on iRate.
Oh, no. Yeah, so it's way back there. So
Yeah,
episode 60
Yep.
with Rob Calisi. Check that out if you want to learn more about the Element Fire Extinguisher. So as we've said here on the podcast, we like to promote stuff that we believe in. We're not getting sponsored by them or anything. And we reached out to them, and Rob's like, yeah, I'd love to be on your podcast and tell you about the product. And so since then, COVID hit, and then it was like, hey, I circled back and said, hey, I've got so many people that want to get these fire extinguishers, and they're not readily available. For purchase, there's some online stuff, but I'm like, hey, I know I can sell this product, and I would like to help you out. Help me help you.
So we're a dealer now.
So we're a dealer. Not that kind of dealer, Lorenzo.
Jesus,
not that kind of dealer. He did. Like, wait a minute, what are we dealing? We're dealing fire extinguishers right now, Lorenzo. So hit us up at Trail Hero, and like I say, Friday, Saturday. Saturday for sure, I will be in the booth. Johnny will be manning our end of the booth. We'll have our banner up and Element Fire Extinguisher banner there. And
is he gonna have some
hit you
big
up with a
zips?
show special. He will have some big zips, and he's producing some hats for us. So we'll have a limited number of Wheeling Wine and Whiskey hats and shirts available. Of course, our Ultra Mega Koozie. We just put a new order in for those.
Yep.
I'm sure we'll continue our $5 show special price for those. I've I've only got like a handful of the freebies version 1 and 2 to give out. Those I just give out on the trail if I see somebody that recognizes us. But our ultra mega koozies are at a cost because it costs us money.
Yeah, they do.
And we're not a charity. We're not a charity. We give till it hurts. But we have to pay the bills, and that is one of the ways that we pay the bills. So.
Lights just went out.
They did. The lights went out.
Thank God we're using a battery recorder.
Got no AC. It's like a third world country over here. I know, Lorenzo.
Oh, it's California. What are you talking about?
Yeah. With gruesome. Anyways, all right. So, hey, let's get back to part two. Part two of Sky Xtreme Offroad, BC Customs, Cole and Sky Johnson.
Yes, sir.
So we left off with them just getting into some of the military aspects of their company and how it crosses over between racing. They've learned stuff from racing that has helped the military. They've learned stuff from the military that has helped racing, and it's quite a combination.
Absolutely, one feeds the other, and vice versa. So
it is super cool. So the tactical vehicles that they produce and get more into their plans of the future for racing and Ultra Force. So
there's some cool stuff coming up.
There's some cool stuff, and they got rid of the rubber band in the side by side. So
that's right.
Making side by sides great again is what they're doing. So
and then some.
Oh yeah, it's great. So let's go ahead and dive right into part two.
All right, boom.
I hit the front diff a lot. So.
Okay. It's pretty stationary where your tires
basically
are moving, right?
Between pre-running, which I only pre-ran the first lap, and qualifying, our guys had to come out and bring me 3 new front skid plates because I went through the one that was on the car and the spare that we brought. So we're like, basically.
So why the lack of pre-running? Was it like we got there late, or I didn't want to pre-run, or we didn't want to tear up the car, or what was? Because most of these guys are out there like a week and a half early and just pre-running everything, well, maybe in another car, right? But not everybody has that luxury.
No, and that like you just said, not everybody really kind of has that luxury because we're still here trying to make things move on the floor. You know, we're trying to we still got to be here to kind of keep moving things along.
Got to keep the lights on
so that we can go out there. You know, and, so I think we're kind of taking a new step. I think into like the caliber in which we are racing because we're like Cole saying, like we really kind of nailed this IFS car kind of out of the gate. And last year in Mexico, you know, we blew up a transmission like 70 miles in, but up until then we were actually matching speeds of 3/4 of the TTs.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was 2 Jeep Speed like 6100 trucks, and they started all of them, then all the UTVs, which unlimited UTVs are getting pretty fast. So like I was like 1,000-mile race, I'm not even going to sweat it. Then they started the sportsmen's and all the stock class. So basically the first 40 miles was just like running all over the place, not even nearly where, like off the course here, going around this car there, and dealing with dudes that are slamming on the brakes when you go to check them because they've been in front of you for 2 miles. And so like SXOR thinks that
Ultra 4 cars are still slow.
Oh, okay.
So, I think, but so learning curve there too a little bit. But yeah, so no, that's kind of the reason for the lack of pre-run.
Okay.
But moving into this kind of this newer bracket, we're kind of like I was saying, like the upgrade in facilities. You know, going from like the 6,500 square feet to 20,000 square feet in less than a year, I guess. We were for the military. We were building basically 1 car every 2 weeks, and now we're building 2 cars every 1 week.
Oh wow!
And so, kind of breaking through that new ceiling. I guess we're like last year for King of the Hammers with the new car. we were out there a week early. We ran the desert lap. We ran a couple of the rock trails, trying to get a feel for the IFS car, trying to feel what it does and all that. This year, we're actually headed to Mexico a week early before the race too to pre-run before the 1000. Kind of two birds for one stone. We're building a new car that hasn't really ever been done to what we've done so far with it, and so we don't know what's going to happen. So it's kind of a shakedown for that, but a pre-run too.
Looking at a car and saying, how can we build this completely different from everybody else? Because this is what we're trying to do with it. So,
yep.
And that's for the 1000.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna try and pre-run the 1000 with.
Okay.
And it's actually we took a Yamaha YXZ because it doesn't use, it's a UTV, right? But it doesn't use a belt or a CVT, a clutch. It's got the 5-speed sequential in it. And
yes.
Because of that, everything is divorced, so you can literally put the componentry wherever you want if you have the ability to make drive lines.
Which I took.
Yes.
Tom Woods. I'm not sure if you guys know who Tom Woods is. And,
Oh yeah.
So they're 20 minutes away from us. They've been building all of our drive lines for the last 30
Tom
years.
Woods in my
And they turned around, and so I dropped off these. So it's got like the little, basically UTV U-joints that are like
tiny,
that big around, and I'm like, I need this drive shaft to be 7 inches long. It go from this UTV which is like the OEM driveline that they turned out and used those parts and put into a driveline. It has to be 6 inches long and go from this with the slip joint to a 1310. And then I built the prop shaft basically from the engine to transmission as like because there's little springs that go in the end of those UTV U-joints to keep pressure on the shaft so it can't walk forward or backwards. And because it's just floating in between the two joints. And so I built this thing with the proper tolerances and everything, and I gave it to him, and he called me and goes, "Are you cool if I just weld this thing?" I was like, because I put it together, but it was only supposed to be like, this is like, hey, you're a driveline shop, build it to a driveline. And they're like, no, this is exactly what we would have done, so we're just going to run it. Then the rear, they turned the rear splines out and converted it from because the factory Yamaha transmission uses a splined rear joint. It doesn't have a U-joint. Basically, it has an axle shaft.
Okay.
It goes from the transmission to the rear diff.
So it's like a slip
We needed
joint.
the transition splines to go to a 1350 U-joint to a 12-bolt because it's solid axle.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say. So that's what we did with this thing. We did a 4-link rear, upper trailing arm, not lower, solid axle rear end YXZ. And what we kind of tried to do was, I guess, disperse the weight, try and put a little weight up front, and then get a lot of weight over the rear axle because we're putting a 250-pound axle in a UTV, so we need to do something to keep
this is great
to keep it planted, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's what we try to do. Try to spread the weight out. But yeah, it's been an adventure. We've been building it for I think 5 months now after working weekends.
That's when we build everything. So we don't, like, even though we work in this super nice facility and we have all these state-of-the-art equipment now, and me and Sky are over there on the hand bender and basically drill press that's a notcher and hand notching every tube after work from 5 to 10, 11 at night, and then going home and waking up at 8 and running the production line till 5, starting on the car about 5:30, repeat the process. So we did that for a year and 2 months. We built my car in a year and 2 months doing that.
Okay.
And then we did this one where my car was at 9 months, it's at in 5 months. So it's definitely
making progress.
Yeah. Well, and kind of what we did too, we kind of took his IFS chassis and basically built the cab to the same dimensions and then shrunk the rest of the car to the componentry.
That way the head clearance, the seat rake, the whole interior is the exact same as my car. Mm-hmm. But the subframe is 6 inches shorter. Somehow this car is 10 inches narrower and has 3 more inches of front and rear wheel travel than mine.
Yeah, we're sitting.
What?
we're still 4-wheel drive. So we use
It's magic.
have you seen one of the? It's the Proformance diffs from Australia, the billet diffs with. The seat.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're running one of those in the front. So it's got a Dana 30 ring and pinion, but the inboard CV joint is actually machined into the carrier. So there's no stub shaft. So we gained about 6 inches worth of shaft length on the front.
Wow.
So
we're sitting at, I think, 25 inches of front travel and 25 inches of rear travel.
Yep.
It's a UTV on steroids.
Yeah.
So, and basically so it's going to be underpowered for what the car's capable for. And it's racing in the new Polaris Pro R class, basically.
Okay.
So we called Legacy, SCOR. Best in the Desert was the only one that didn't have a class out for that car yet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we told them what we were doing, and Legacy and SCOR both said, we don't give a shit what you do as long as it's under 2,000 cc's.
No kidding.
So we're like, let's build a Class 1 Ultra 4 Truggy Trophy Light thing. And I'm really stoked to see it done because it has a 60-40 weight split like a trophy truck, but it's front and rear, it's all-wheel drive, spooled transfer case, so you can't put it in two-wheel drive, spooled front end, spooled rear end, and
I can't wait to see this thing, man. It's gonna be badass.
supercharging it, so it's going to be about 140 horsepower to the tire.
Wow.
And it's basically race ready with 2 people in it, 2,600 pounds, and without 2 people in it, you're sitting at the 2,200 to 2,300 pound mark. So it should be, and
like
it's
a
a
rape date.
third the cost of the big cars. So
Well,
it's
there you go.
Well, even that was so ridiculous for us. We've never built a UTV before, right?
Yep.
And so going from a wheel and tire from the same companies on the wheel and the tire, instead of being $1,500 for one wheel and tire assembly, we're sitting at $350 per corner. It's
Right.
this is a big jump.
Yeah. About the only thing that was the same cost was the fuel tank. But other than that, even the shocks, it has 3.0 internal bypass shocks. So it's basically like a 2.5 coilover, essentially, but bypassed is how the Fox 3.0s are set up. So that's on the front, and then on the rear upper trailing arm it has a 2.0 12-inch and then a 14-inch 2.5 bypass.
Shit.
And so I was talking to Keith. I was like, hey, man, I'm building this car for a family friend / it's kind of like an R&D thing for me and Sky and really see what we can push the envelope with. So what's the shock package? He said he wants 2.0s, 2.5s all the way around.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, I got these takeoffs from the race cars that I can put on it. Then I have these 3.5 internal bypass that we've had sitting around for years that we can't use on anything because the Ultra 4 cars, they're 4,400, so they're unlimited, so we're running 2 shocks per corner anyways. And then on the production stuff, it's just too obtuse and big. So we're basically, that's on the front. The rears, it has a coilover and bypass with 25 inches of travel. It is 60-40 weight split.
Jeez.
2,600 pounds with 140 horsepower. So it's going to be... The owner of the car keeps joking with me and saying that he's going to pass me because there's a possibility he might pass me. So it's going to have the same power to weight ratio as my car. The biggest thing that's going to hurt it is the wheelbase. It's a 114-inch wheelbase, so we built it so we can still run King of the Hammers if we want to.
Oh, really? Okay.
So if they allow a Pro R to run King of the Hammers, because KOH has a 1,000cc cap.
Sure.
Right.
So, which we're still 1,000cc, but they also have a production UTV.
Right. You got to be.
But going all these other places, they're like, if we go to this 2,000cc market, we're going to get full tube chassis cars. So they just went ahead and changed the rules to unlimited UTV class pretty much for the Pro R. But Ultra 4 hasn't done that. So if they allow us to race it, we'll run it in King of the Hammers. And
as of right now, I think the first race we're trying to get to is the Toyo Desert Challenge.
For KOH.
Before KOH.
Okay.
And then if they allow us to run it in KOH, might run it this year, might run it next year. we basically built it so that's always an option. It's never going to be like, it's clearly a desert truck, but it has the wheelbase characteristics, the boat sides, everything's laid out as an Ultra 4 car. So it's just basically, if we put 35s on the thing, which it would never break because it runs as a 32 spline rear shaft, 32 spline front shaft that RCV Custom is building for us that necks it down to a YXZ stock front hub.
Okay.
So the only thing that will ever break is a front hub pretty much, but going to an RCV
That's your
hub,
fuse.
like it'll never, I really don't think the car's drivetrain wise is going to have a weak point. So,
Wow.
and the YXZ is one, the like JD powered basically for UTVs. I don't remember what it's called, but for the most reliable UTV there is.
Yeah.
So the
Cool.
drivetrain's supposed to be tried and true. And so, I mean, you
Especially
never
getting
know
rid of
until you
that
test
belt.
it.
You're getting rid
Yeah.
of the belt. That's right.
Yeah.
So it's not a belt burner.
No,
So
and
how does a lot of this stuff translate into your day job? I mean, is this R&D that's going to spill over, or is this going to be stuff from the day job that spills over into the racing? Let's talk about a little bit about your day job.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's for us it's kind of funny. So like the BC Customs and SXOR Motorsports goes hand in hand. We use each other to kind of build each other. So BC Customs is the entity that we build the military cars under. But even right now, the car that we actually are building for the military primarily, that is for the U.S. Air Force Special Forces, is pararescue.
Right.
And it's actually a 4-seat UTV-sized car, but it's got a turbo 350, an Atlas transfer case, Ford 9 differentials, RCB front end, but it's still in that small package, and so that's the kind of gig we got going there because, as far as it's like the only true, I guess, light mobility vehicle as far as military standard, because like Hummer is considered a light vehicle in military, right?
Yeah, but they're huge.
You got Hummers and then you got Razors, like tactical golf carts, and so we try to fill that gap with this, and it's it seemed to be paying off a little bit because there was nothing really kind of like that size, that small, but could handle what they're trying to do with it as well.
The biggest issue that we kind of got approached with was, so a small dude, a dude that weighs 180 pounds, basically for them, fully kitted weighs 300 to 330 pounds. So
the soldier you're talking
you put
about.
four dudes, you put 4 dudes into a 4-seat M-Razor, full kit with ammo. They're over the payload of what that can handle. And then they blow belts like it's going out of style.
Yep.
So basically, what we developed was a UTV-sized vehicle that takes a Turbo 350, an Atlas, and Spider Trax 9-inch all the way around. So the drivetrain is literally indestructible. And then either has a 2.4 Ecotec or a 2.8 Cummins.
Okay.
And we hit a 3,000-pound threshold, and we're the only UTV in the U.S. military that's heavy weapons capable. So we shoot 50 cals, miniguns, 30 mil cannon. All of it gets shot off the top of our car. So we just
50
filled
cal.
the void of what was missing. So, and that's kind
That's
of
cool.
that's the day-to-day job is we build those on a production line scale. This guy's the engineer, I'm the foreman, so I run the production line, basically, the whole assembly side. My uncle runs the fabricating side because everything's built in-house. And then Sky does all the engineering. So if we make an engineering change, he has to draw it, basically, and figure out the weak points, figure out how it's going to fit in the car, figure out time frames on how it's going to affect production. And then my dad oversees everything. So
you had to go through a
basically,
mil spec process, mil spec numbers and whatnot, and how'd that work?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So we're actually one of the only vehicles that is transportable in the V22 with the that can hold a heavy weapon and still hold the payload that can hold and be transported in the V22.
So the car weighs 3,000 pounds, but it holds 3,000 pounds of payload.
Holy smokes!
So you can put 3,000 pounds of payload on the car and drive it into the aircraft.
That's a lot of bullets.
Yeah, yeah. It's and basically the original concept behind it was for because we do infill exfil as fast as we can. So basically, car goes in. It's not there to get shot at, be in the middle of the streets. It's supposed to just get in there, get to the guys that are injured, and get out. So our car, not only does it hold the payload, it holds 4 litters. So it can hold 4 patients at a time. So basically, that's the design behind it. Infill exfil as fast as you can. And
but back to like I guess how BC Customs and SXOR Motorsports go hand in hand. We kind of because what we do in desert racing, right, is like it's all about preparation and like you learn the things of how you're going to like out in the middle of nowhere, something fails on the car. What's the basic items that you need to like keep moving forward that you got to keep on the car, or even just like down to the componentry and the durability of that. So I think so racing we kind of prove the technology, figure out the things that we I guess would consider something that needs to be like a part of the vehicle, and then it kind of just goes hand in hand. But
it makes some sense because you look at all the different race teams, Toyota, Mercedes, and whatever, they prove their technology on the racetrack, and then it translates into some other like a road car or a Toyota pickup truck or a Jeep or whatever, and you're translating into a military application that's obviously been used and abused in the worst conditions possible. A race called King of the Hammers,
right?
And that's kind of what we've seen with the racing side. So it all goes hand in hand. So we actually have the exact car we build. We call it the SXVXL because it's just a 72-inch wide version. These cars are only 60 inches wide. They're the size of a 4-seat, 60-inch wide Razor.
Okay.
So our other car is the size of basically a full-size truck. So 72 inches wide, 126-inch wheelbase. But 98% of the parts are interchangeable between our production car and that. The only difference is raw material length.
Okay.
Then we turned around, took that exact chassis, everything, turned it into a race car. So we go down, we run Mexico with it, and we run the Mint. We do some local stuff because racing is the most accelerated form of testing there is. So things we can run these cars through the test program, and they got to put 2,000 miles on it before they're like, failure. You put it in the race car, you're like, and you run a 37 instead of the production 32, you're like, 300 miles in Mexico, and you rip the whole rack out of the chassis. Failure point. So with that, that's one thing that, like, it always goes hand in hand. Just like this black car, it's all production parts. And so this black car, the way how it was built, motor's never been out of it in 8 years of racing, 9 years of racing, actually.
Wow.
It's never been tore down. It's been tore down enough to have like the transmission out. That's it.
Really?
So, let Kevin Jones hear you say that.
Yeah,
That's
no
great.
hashtag KOH prep here.
Yeah, and like the car basically gets a nut and bolt check before every race. Like Sky, it took me 2 weeks to prep my gray car.
Wow.
It took him a day and a half to prep the black car. Like, he seriously worked on the UTV for a day, for 2.5 weeks. And then came over here and finished this thing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
awesome.
I'm like driving my car in the parking lot. I blow a front diff the night before we're leaving to this race, and like
No
just
oil.
all sorts of. No, we actually. So one thing we're learning with this car, obviously we're going speeds and such an accelerated speed, and we build all of our own gears in house. We're the second biggest buyer of Yukon parts in the world, pretty much. So basically, we do like 30 diffs a month and 39-inch diffs a month, and so we turn around and we have a differential dyno where we run 500 miles on every diff before it goes in the car.
No kidding.
Just like the race cars. So the race cars get 500 miles on them before they ever even get a differential on them. So the bearings are in the heat cycle. Ring gear has its correct heat cycle and wear pattern on it. Bearings, the upper pinion bearing on the 9-inch running it upside down. It's one thing we've seen, if you don't warm them
Holy
up,
shit.
the pinion bearing gets too hot, then the oil literally doesn't stick to it. And so you just burn the pinion bearing out of it. So like this, there's already so much oil in it that we don't have those issues. And
it's all high 9?
Yep, everything is high 9 that we run. And but
like
what we started doing is
secrets.
Like I only run my car weighs my IFS car for short course weighs 4,200 pounds. For King of the Hammers, it weighs 48 to 49. So depending on who's the co-driver and what is the extent of spare parts I'm going to bring on the car.
It's the same
So
fuel
I'm
cell.
500 to 600 pounds lighter than everybody in every aspect.
Wow.
So I'm running 35 spline axles, not 40s.
Okay.
I'm running the smaller CV setup from RCV. Once again, never had an issue. I smashed the shit out of them out at KOH. I bent a lower control arm, and basically it made the knuckle come closer to the car. So every time I hit a bump, it didn't allow the CV to have any play. So it was just smashing itself up and down, and but never broke it. So like this car on the diffs, I'm actually spinning. My rear diff is from Yukon, basically. The spec that they gave us than what we built it to is a little different. But it's rated for 2,000 horsepower.
Wow.
And it's on its third rear diff because we're seeing trial and error things that we've never seen before. And basically, so now the issue is my ring gear is spinning on my carrier. So the bolts are backing out.
Oh, boy.
Red Loctite, you can over torque them, do everything. So we turn around and talking to Yukon, they're like, we have this ring gear. The Ultra 4 is the only one that we see this issue with. And it's from the shock load and the whoops. And basically, so that back end's 50, 60 G's going through the whoops up and down.
Wow.
So the ring gear starts vibrating so much from the shock load that the bolts start backing out. So they're like, you have to have a basically
Safety
machinist drill the carrier out to 1/2 inch. Then they have a ring gear that takes a 1/2 inch grade 10 bolt. And so it maximizes the pressure yield strength by like 20,000 PSI. It doubles what the 7/16 bolt is rated to. So
Holy moly.
we're about to pull this rear end out of this car just to see, this is our first time doing it on this one, to see are the bolts loose, and if they didn't loosen, then we know we're in the clear. Because when I lost the differential in the parking lot, the car was making a squeaking noise. Couldn't figure out what it was. Turns out it was an accessory drive, but it only did it under load, so I thought maybe it was a diff gear or something, and it wouldn't do it when I free rev it. So I was like, maybe it's carrier bearing, pinion bearing, I don't know. So I was driving around in the parking lot in front wheel drive, because that's the only time it wasn't making the noise.
Right.
And then going from front wheel drive, like just changing it all up, rear wheel drive, and basically all the bolts out of the ring gear backed out. So I barely gave it like 3/4 throttle, and it snapped the last bolt that was holding it together in half.
Jeez.
And then we pulled apart and we call Yukon, and they're like, yeah, in Ultra 4 cars we see this issue all the time. And so basically it's something Ultra 4 and really just desert racing in general, as far as like high speed desert racing. So like in your car, that's something that you would never have an issue with,
No.
rock crawling all day long. It's something we've never had that issue in this black car.
Sure.
But it's just because the gray car is seeing the shock load in the bumps. It's not like initial G-force hit that like would rip the whole side of the car off. It's from the repetitive whoop section that's basically loosening that ring gear.
Hours and hours of it.
Now, are you
Yeah.
running 250 weight oil, that molasses that a lot of guys are running, or what are you running?
Nope. I run 75 140.
No
Valvoline
kidding.
Lucas. I just started running. We just did a
I
test
love
run
Lucas.
with Royal Purple in this, and
Okay.
and it's. I mean, I just drained it, and the rear gear oil looks perfectly
Clean.
fine. So,
So you're not out there with heaters at KOH warming up diffs and all that
No.
stuff like these guys that are running molasses in their diff.
No, like me driving from the camp to the start line is the extent.
You're good to go.
We're good.
I
As
love
long
this.
as you don't heat up that pinion bearing before you leave the line, you're good. So basically, you just put around in the parking lot. And one thing we learned with our dyno, because our dyno is a Spider Trax housing,
Okay.
and then it's shortened. It's only like 3 feet wide, and then we have a 3-phase motor that runs it, so we can run.
How
it
many
at 30
RPM
miles.
or what? Does it vary, or is it one
We go from
constant
30
speed?
miles an hour all the way up to 60 miles an hour,
Okay.
forward and reverse.
Okay. Oh.
And then, we have this little screen on the back, and so all the race cars, we Dremel out the oil passage because we run a high 9 pinion, so we got to Dremel out the oil passage because that's generally a drain for
Okay.
the pinion.
Sure.
It's the fill point for the pinion when you're driving. So
Okay.
what we learned with on this dyno is the ring gear, actually the oil gets pulled straight into the pinion off the ring gear. So you get like 2 inches high of oil on top of the ring gear that just sticks with it and goes into the pinion. And so, I mean, as far as we ran cars at 110 miles an hour in the Middle East down the highway and that's when we started seeing like differentials get hot. So that's when we went to the 75 140 with just the high end Valvoline or the high end
Sure.
Lucas or Royal Purple, and we've never, from a heat wise, never seen a failure again. From
Okay.
braking wise, we broke a couple, but
Okay.
so.
Interesting. That's cool stuff, man.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
It's I mean, it's so cool. I mean, you guys are still super young compared to us, but how you grew up in this environment, right? And from your dad, you know, doing rock crawling and building these chassis and adapting to the environment, the economy, and all that stuff that
Right.
went south. And you guys all seen that firsthand. And then, you know, it sounds like, I mean, you're super like just hands-on, cocktail napkin sketch, kind of like, I got an idea, let me try this, let me build this, let me try. I mean, and instead of, you know, these brainiac engineers that are coming in and going, oh, well, that'll never work, or this doesn't pencil out in the books, but you guys are proving a theory, right? You're like, let me try something, I think this will work, and it works, or it doesn't, and like, okay, well, it didn't work because of XYZ, and I'm going to make this change. I mean, it's super cool, grassroots, it sounds like you guys are, to come up with these ideas and not only apply it, you know, vice versa from the military vehicles that you're doing, which is super cool, to racing and vice versa. I mean, both of those are playing off of each other, it sounds like, and it's just it's awesome. I mean, this is very cool.
No, it's awesome. It's yeah, it's hard to picture you doing anything else because it's like this is it really is amazing, you know. And
So-
the like,
So in the military stuff, do you have any active military that you're talking to that use your vehicles going, hey guys, I got an idea, or this thing is freaking epic, we just did this awesome rescue mission? I mean, there's got to be some feedback there that's I mean, just, you got a huge American flag behind you. I mean, I love it. And our sport, our you know, off-roading community is super patriotic.
Absolutely.
And it's just cool that you guys are building something that's helping out our military and keeping our, you know, freedom alive and all that stuff. So what kind of experiences have you had with like active military?
well, I mean,
Training course and
yeah. So with our cars, because they're kind of like, well, this is just kind of one example. Because they're kind of unlike anything that the military has really ever had as a vehicle, right? The next closest thing is an M-Razor, and we're still like miles away from that. We actually do like off-road training courses for the special forces and all that. Kind of teach them the basics of like off-road driving, but down to the basics of like the specifics about our vehicle in general as well.
Okay.
And then doing that, and then doing kind of like, you know, the demos here and there. So we're kind of like always like I guess the what I think sets us apart from kind of a lot of the other manufacturers for the military is that we are face to face with the guys that are using our vehicles, and ultimately at the end of the day, that's who we're building the car for.
Sure.
It's not industry standard. It's not these guys are doing this, or what command thinks is the best. It's the guys using the car that we're face to face with, like seeing the issues that they're having or seeing what they need to do, and that's what we try to do. And I think being we're still, even though we've expanded a lot the last year, we're still a small time family business. Our biggest rivals is Polaris, General Dynamics, Oshkosh, AM General. Those are the guys we compete with on who we're building cars for. And so they're so large and so big, they get this idea from a higher up than engineering department, and then it's got to roll into how are we going to build this? Okay, now how are we going to build it really cheap? And then how do we build it really fast? And then, they got to jump through all these hoops where we're like, what is your problem? Oh, well, we can build a car to do that.
We can fix that.
It's on the floor the next week, and
wow.
And so something that we've always kind of said, is that at the end of the day, even if the end user doesn't, I guess, go with our car for one reason or another, we just hope that at the end of the day that we can show the world and show everybody else that hey, this is possible. We can push the industry in the right direction. So I guess that's kind of always is what pushed us forward, is the if we can push the industry forward to something that is better and works better for our guys on the ground, then that's a win at the end of the day for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
That's so cool.
So basically, and one thing I have to always reiterate to, the new guys that start, and because it is a surreal experience until it's right in front of your face. So we had two guys out here, and they were getting ready to deploy, and we were teaching them how to drive cars. And I turned to my employees, I was like, "See those two guys? Their life depends on your car." I was so. When it comes to the quality of stuff that I'm saying has to be built, if me, Sky, or my dad tells you to put this bolt this way,
right,
there's a specific reason behind it. And we had a kid, I gave him the spill that everybody gets, and he quit the next day because I think it was too much.
Oh, shit.
Too much pressure for him, and he lasted 3 days. But basically, we turn around, and who we work for is... we don't basically build the car for, command said this. We build the car specifically to what the guys want. The car, so we're on Gen 4 of the car, and basically the car has always been evolving to exactly what the end user needs. It's not necessarily, how can we make it cheaper? How can we save money? We're only making a 5% margin on each car.
Right.
So we're very slim margin on it. And, but, we're slowly chugging along, so
that's what's super cool, is that it's the guys that are on the ground actually using it. It's we've all had this experience with these engineers that are super highly educated and stuff, and they are looking at the bottom line and whatever. They're, when they design something, they've got all these things, and
bean counters get involved.
Have they ever in your case, driven the vehicle? Have they ever, been in that combat situation? No. They sit behind a desk, and they're there, oh, no, this is going to work because of this textbook thing that I read or whatever, and there is something to that. I'm not discounting those guys because, they obviously are smart individuals, but there's nothing that replaces real-world experience.
No.
Never, ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so these engineers that never get to experience it are never going to excel, and we've seen it. So Jeep, going out on the Rubicon and talking to real world, four-wheelers out there, it's what is missing, what's not, and they have built, the Rubicon Edition that works really well, just as an example, and it's super cool to hear that, and refreshing that you guys are there interacting with frontline literally frontline individuals that are out there fighting and getting their input, and it's going, oh, well, yeah, we can fix that. We can build this. We can make that improvement, whatever. So hats off to you guys, man. That's super freaking cool.
It is.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So what's coming up, the future for you guys, and specifically like racing Ultra 4 in 2023? Both of you guys, both cars are going to be out there on the lake bed. What's the plan?
Well, I think so this year, because like we talked earlier, kind of how that all went, we kind of took that as a breather. Mostly because too, it was like a combination of things. It was the Ultra 4 kind of changeover, the moving into the new facility, trying to spool up a new production line, trying to work out the kinks of a new car, kind of all of those things. We kind of took this year as a breather to, I guess, get our shit together. But yeah, next year I don't know,
because we're only a few months away from KOH.
It's kind of there's supposed to be a rock organization basically coming out, racing association that is putting on new style of racing. So we're waiting.
It's kind of more of the old school rock cross, but new style short course. It's like a really cool combination of things, and so I think we're going to try and kind of front load that, and that be our primary race series. And then we're still going to, we'll team drive, probably Cole's car for King of the Hammers and whatnot.
Okay.
If there's any Ultra 4 races that make sense that are local, like if they do Moab again, we'll probably both drive. Like the black car, she's getting pretty old and beat up, so we'll probably just keep band-aiding her along to, I guess, just be that extra car for that reason.
That could be your pre-runner.
Yeah, and that was the other thing too. So pre-runner, I think
Chris is looking for an Ultra 4 car.
Rock crawler.
Hashtag Chris.
Yeah, I mean that's the perfect rock crawler trail Ultra 4 mix all into one.
There you go.
Subframe has seen a little bit better days. She went like 8 feet in the air straight to one corner of the subframe, and
yep.
She's had some stress cracks, but we just basically the entire subframe's now 1/4-inch plate.
Yep.
So we went from chasing stress cracks every race to now let's just go
plate it.
Yeah.
So
I took a 60-mile-an-hour barrel roll at Sturgis last year.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I actually had lost the front locker without really realizing it until I was on a big turn where it was a big high-speed turn where I was driving to the four-wheel drive, and the front end never came around because I didn't have, front-wheel drive. So, yeah, she's been through the ringer. But I think I honestly think after this UTV thing and seeing how that kind of pans out, we're going to try and attack the market there. Like we're saying, we're trying to really kind of compete with the Razor Pro R on that side of it. Team drive the big Ultra 4 races in Cole's car, and then I think our next big build is going to be a four-wheel drive trophy truck. And it's kind of up in the air still, but I think that's the direction we're leaning. So we'll team drive the trophy truck in the big desert races, team drive the Ultra 4 car in the big Ultra 4 races, and then just try and hit onesie twosies in between there until we can really get see where our feet land to really just keep going at it. But
if you get if you build a trophy truck, you're going to have to get a helicopter as well, right, to follow that back up, right?
Yeah,
got to be in the air. That's one of the coolest things.
My dad said that's always one of his main goals is to have a helicopter be able to follow a race car, because that's you're there if you did that. So
right,
if you're in the helicopter, you're not in the dust.
And even down to that Knowles race, I was like, when this helicopter flew over, I was like, at the start line trying to figure out what's going on, and then 5 minutes into the race, you're 30 seconds off the Ultra 4 car. And I'm like, holy shit, they're on our frequency too. And then
I can't even imagine what that's like.
Yeah, right.
And And the worst part about it for me was like the car, we were doing a shakedown run, so I was pushing the car to about 85%. If Sky was in the car and I was more comfortable with not having just some employee in the car, I would have gone probably all out, and I would have got the turns 2 turns before, not 2 turns after. And I was like halfway through the race, what's the trans temp at? And he's just staring straight, holding on to the thing. So
Just holding on for dear life.
Over, like scrub the dirt off. I look at it. I was like, okay. He looks at me. Trans temp's 260. I'm like,
oh shit, back it off.
I was like, man, I've seen that, so we're already slowing down. But that's one thing on this gray car. The trans temp is on the hot side of the cooler.
Okay.
Because the cold side is basically on the outside of the car, so if I roll it, it could break the sensor.
Yeah.
And I hate dealing with transmission pan sensors that always leak. So like, that's a new issue we're trying to mitigate right now with it. Because right now, if I'm at 260 on my temp, that means the transmission's happy because that's the converter temperature coming out of the transmission. Mm-hmm. It's going straight into the cooler. So I have no idea what basically talking to my transmission builder, which we stuck with Randy's transmission. They've helped us out a lot. And like I said, this black car's transmission has been just a shit brick house. And but basically talking to them, they're like, if you're running 260 on the hot side trans line, you're at perfect temperature.
Wow,
that's great.
So I was like, and there basically I was like, I'm between 240 and 260. At KOH, we'd be at 240 in the desert, and then it'd cool down to 180 in the rocks. Because we used to run like a 3,500 stall converter.
That's pretty high,
We bumped it down to 28 to keep the heat out of the transmissions in the rocks. Because we'd be fine in the desert and burn up the trans in the rocks.
That's pretty high in the rocks.
Exactly.
But
wow.
Yeah, so I mean, with that's basically that's where we're at on that, anyways.
So it sounds like you guys are taking the IFS gray car, as you refer to it, to KOH, and you'll spend a couple hours prepping that, checking bolts, and call it good, and send it. So I gotta say, after talking with you guys here for this last hour and a half or whatever, you guys seem to get along pretty good for brothers, and especially being 3 years apart. So you work together, you race together. It sounds like you spend a lot of time together, and you guys get along. I'm an only child, so I don't know, but I know a lot of brothers that don't like each other. So how are you guys getting along, or how's that relationship there?
I'd say we get along better than most brothers, but I also think that's because, once a year we have a pretty good scuffle, I think, that lets out the last year.
There's generally, it's been more like 2. So every 2 years since we were 16, it's like 3 months of this build-up, fist fight. The next day, I'm riding to work with them, and we're just...
You're hugging it out.
Not like angrily talking to each other. It's always been like genuinely just talking to each other, figuring out what's going on, and then you're good for 2 years. Then the animosity builds up, and so like we have a good reset every 2 years, and
that's great.
But like everything I do outside of work, he's with me, and everything he does outside of work, I'm with him. So
I think our personalities just align really well. Like even back to the driving thing, like how like he's the dummy that's got the good go fast pedal, and I'm the slow guy that's much more analytical. But because of that, like even down to just the driving, we make a really good team with each other. Like he's telling me to step on it in the desert, and I'm telling him to slow down. And but then
I'm like, dude, you look a little stiff. I know. We're getting there, and then a couple miles in, he starts loosening up, and then he just starts getting after it after that, and then vice versa. I get in tunnel vision. I'm quiet for 5 minutes. He's like, "You good?" And I'm just, I'm driving,
focused.
I'm listening to his inputs, but other than that, like that's it. And then he's like, "Hey, are you good?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." He goes, "Okay, you need to tone it back a little bit." And I'm like, "Got it."
Okay.
So like the helicopter footage we have, my dad's like, you guys are hauling ass, going way too fast for not pre-running. And I was like, you're not wrong, but the car felt planted. And as soon as I said that in the video, the rear tire comes like 2 feet in the air.
Oh, shit.
And we didn't even know in the car. And like,
my eyes were closed, so
yeah. But
Well, that's the best way to ride, right?
yeah, and but we've always had to lean on each other. So like, I'm severely dyslexic, so I can't read like pretty well at all. I read on like the 6th grade reading level with 0 comprehension. So like, if I do read it, I don't know what I read. So like, we're just back to square one of not knowing what's on the paper. And versus he's once again overly analytical, extremely smart, like insane engineer, and but we feed off each other very well because of that. I have to lean on him for a lot of things, and he has to lean on me for a lot of things.
Like
and
yin and yang. Yeah,
That's
you guys
awesome.
definitely
it
complement
works
each
out.
other.
Definitely have our differences every once in a while, but we look at cars almost completely different, but then we always draw the center line and tend to that. I think that's why my gray car worked out so good, is because it's not 100% one way or the other. It's down the middle on everything.
A compromise or collaboration is a better word
That's
of
a great word.
both you guys' ideas and engineering and stuff. So is your dad race anymore, or is he done? Just leave it up to you guys, or how does that go?
He raced King of the Hammers this year. He, I think, had fun but didn't have fun. So
Right.
he drove the old black solid axle car that beats the shit out of you in the desert, and definitely was not the best car to put him in for, especially with the way how the desert race was. And so we're trying to build him basically like a truggy. So my car, but trophy truck sized, but it's my car. So if you add 8 more inches on track width, so if you go from 88 to, I guess it'd be 5, go to 88 to 94 inches wide, and then you turn around and go to 125 inch wheelbase from 119.
a big desert couch as well.
Big desert couch.
And,
Something way
because
more comfortable.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
broke his back twice from XRA racing, and
shit.
like broke his sternum and stuff. Old school rock crawlers, Kirky seats.
Yeah. Yep.
Trying to go fast, and basically the first race I think they ever put whoops in, and end over end, and broke his back. And so as far as that being said, we're trying to, I think, build him a solid car that it has the creature comforts that you need, so that way it doesn't beat the shit out of you, and you can just have fun in it instead of
There you go.
Yeah. Instead of a 9-hour car wreck. Yeah.
which that's what.
Yeah.
Like, the black car does really good, but you got to push it to a level that, like, you push it to the level of how long can I run this before I eat shit, pretty much. And,
Right.
To get it to smooth out, and it's just because it's the way how, it's the geometry behind it, it's the ergonomics of the car. So we've been talking about just re-chassing the car, using all the parts, putting all the parts into a new chassis, and then going from there. But really haven't settled on it, or just leave it as it is and pre-run it because it's perfect for that. And but as far as like my dad goes, I think that's the main goal, is to get him. It's always been kind of his dream car, so build him his dream car. He's had parts on the shelf for like 6 years for it, and
Sure.
Yeah, basically back to the, we want to do things that people say you can't do, and so we're trying to build a car that's not a trophy truck but does trophy truck things because we think we can.
Sure.
And
a certain announcer said that Ultra 4 cars are a way lower caliber of racing than Class 1 and trophy trucks. So
and, well, what's funnier is, as he said that on the live stream, it was Lauren Healy was actually in second place overall in the 400. So it was ironic, but
we were
still
just
funny.
like, we're gonna build a car to show, and it's gonna be like the car that we're gonna build. You could race it in King of the Hammers if you wanted to, and so we're gonna build a car that basically you could take through the rocks if you wanted to. You can once again, it'd be a little long, be a little wide. But a lot of those Ultra 4 cars are starting to go to trophy truck widths.
Oh,
And like, so.
Well, and like we're looking at it too. Like if that's the car our dad's driving, like he like pioneer in rock crawling, like honestly, and so we figured if we can build something that floats through the desert, he'll figure out a way to get it through the rocks.
Sure.
Yeah.
He makes us look silly in the rocks. Every time I think, I'm like, yeah, I could take him in the rocks, and I'm like, see him
Older
in the
and
rocks.
wiser.
That's right.
Yep.
It's seat time, man.
The
Seat
things
time.
that he sees, I'm like, that is sketchy as shit. Not happening.
Right.
And he goes over it, and it's like nothing even happened. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, let's look at
that's
things
great.
different. So,
That's so good.
Look forward to seeing that build. That's going to be
I
awesome.
know. I want to see this this Pro
we got
R build
three
too.
builds. The UTV, the trophy truck, and basically the Truggy are the three.
Those are the three on the map. Right
So
now.
Okay.
it's the unlimited. We got the unlimited Ultra 4 car, going for the unlimited UTV, unlimited trophy truck, and
Unlimited, whatever you want to call it.
let's say
Yeah.
unlimited class 1. So
Dollar, 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 dollar,
Yeah.
dollar.
Well,
the class 1 though, we've had the motor and transmission on the shelf for 6 years now. I've had
oh wow.
I bought all the steering rack stuff for his car when I bought everything for my car. So like 2-3 years down the road now, and it's just I got totes on the back that are waiting. It says Brandon's race car waiting to get pulled down, and so
Right on,
But,
right on.
yeah.
Blow
I
the
think-
dust off and get it done.
Get it
Yeah.
done,
Yeah, we
Start-
need to.
Start bending too.
You just need to spend 24 hours at the shop instead of 18.
That's
See,
what they're
that's all
building.
it
That's what
is.
they're
All it
building
is.
the studio. The
Yeah, the
for.
apartment, the 2-bedroom apartment.
That's right.
Oh
Well-
shoot!
Well, gentlemen, it's been a long chat. You want to say something?
Oh no, yeah, it's just then we'd have to spend 24 hours at the shop to finish the place to be able to stay 24 hours at the shop.
Well, this is the part of the show where we give you a chance to do any shout outs to any sponsors or any special people in your lives.
yeah. Do you want to go first? Or?
Yeah, I mean, like, so Spider Tracks, that's that we've been doing business with them for 25 years. That's who
Heck
we
yeah.
use in all the military stuff. And tried and true. Like, Cole's car is the first one that we actually trust. So we've been running non-trust Spider Tracks housings for 20 years, and we've been doing
Wow.
pretty good.
Wow.
So
This guy bent the first axle we've ever bent in his 60-mile-an-hour barrel roll.
Okay.
So we've been their product is, I mean, nothing but great things, exceptional. We got to always pushing their product everywhere that we can go because it's the best. So
Yep. So there's Spider Tracks. Tom Wood, same thing. Been using them for 25 years, and they've been awesome. Baja Designs. That's we use them on the production stuff too. So every military.
Oh,
car's got
okay.
Baja Designs.
you
Yep.
can see how many Baja Designs lights are on the IFS car. We went
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like 15 on the front of it. So we
Night
went
run.
all out on
Night run, exactly.
and
Jackson
Atlas.
Motorsports. So Jackson Motorsports, they're the ones that supply all the BFG race tires. They helped me out on this car. So I met one of the main execs over at Michelin and with Jackson Motorsports, and I just told him like mine and Sky's story, and he thought it was super awesome. And he asked me what the tire size was for the car, and we showed up to the shop from our trip, and it was like 2 days later, and the day we got home was the day the FedEx truck showed up with 6 brand new race tires, and I didn't blow a single one out at King of the Hammers.
Awesome.
I ran into a wall, which I bent a wheel that blew one, but I also bent the control arm in doing so. So
You're hard on equipment, Cole.
yeah,
Yeah.
we push the limits. So that's it. There's 2 arms that just got the uniballs welded back in.
Yeah.
They snapped both of them off. And FK Rod End's another one that we work with on the production side all the time. So we use their medium grade tie rod end, and we've always ran it on the black car, and everybody's like, you're going to wear those out. You should go to the heavier stuff that they sell. And that's on the original Heims in that car.
No kidding.
Yeah, and then the new car, we went to the heavier stuff, just knowing that
Sure.
the speeds that we're going,
And you were driving.
and I'm driving, so we're going to test the limits of it. And
I like how they already know that.
yeah,
We didn't even really get
everybody
It didn't take long to pick that up.
Yeah, and but basically,
We're pretty intuitive over here.
yeah. Another one that we use all the time. They don't necessarily sponsor us on the racing side, but their product's awesome. Is XS batteries. So they sell gel cell race batteries, and always have awesome luck with them.
Yeah,
I was just about to say.
Randy's transmissions, and we talked plenty about them. I think that Knowles race I ran at least 150 miles at 250 degrees, and fluid was red, so we're good there. Bridge Moto, those guys they're more drift car stuff. We've kind of introduced them into the desert world, and they've been awesome to work with.
Safety equipment. I have an Evel Knievel race suit.
I was gonna say we should have had Cole put on his Evel Knievel suit for you. But,
Really?
Yeah,
it's awesome.
So that's what they do race suits?
Yeah, so they do race suits, seat belts, seats, steering wheels, gloves, all that.
Okay, all the safety.
Yeah, and we love their
Yeah,
stuff.
it's awesome.
Bridge Moto.
Yep, I was gonna say. So we actually, because tire balls got banned for ultra.
Oh yeah,
we still tear
the famous
all the
tire ball
tires
incident.
apart. Yeah, and we tear all the tires apart and put tire balls in them for
the score.
for the score.
Okay.
Stuff. So I actually down in Mexico when we took second in this car. We got home. I put the car in the trailer. We didn't pull it out till a month and a half before King of the or a month and a half, so 3 weeks before King of the Hammers was when we pulled it out of the trailer and prepped it. And
Wow.
but I was looking at it and I'm like, man, is that tire lube? And you walk over to it and there's a stick that went through the tread of the tire.
No way.
All the way through. We didn't even know, race the entire race. Don't even know when it happened or how it happened. And you couldn't even tell until I saw the tire oozing a little bit of stuff from it being parked in the trailer. And and Mark Harris, he's always ready to lend a hand with us. Super awesome guy. And the other one would be Yukon. They have warranted a lot of stuff for me now over the last
Sounds
year
like you're part of their R&D department.
Yeah.
Basically and then same with RCV. I've sent them we bent the lower control arm out at KOH,
Right.
sent them a picture, and they're like, that wasn't a failure, but we understand the situation, and they're always ready to lend a hand at
They'll also build anything you need. So the shafts they're building for that UTV for us is a Dana 30 inner to a YXZ outer.
That's why I chose them. It's like they custom build anything and they stand behind their product too. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, and that's the RCV over there. I drove the CV out of the car,
Right.
because I ripped the side of it off, and basically I talked to them. They're like, "Was it a failure?" I was like, "No," but basically trying to work with them, just make sure that this isn't something that would happen again. I get yes, it's a wreck, but the inner cage, just talking to them, and they're like, they basically always ready to lend a hand and work with us.
Wow, that's cool.
And Fox shocks. So we use Fox.
I was going to say Fox shocks, yeah.
Yep. So we use them pretty well on everything, and they've always been really good to work with as well.
So, and that's one thing with Fox. We they have their own tuning department, but basically I decided to go with KDM Shock Technologies. He's just super small. I mean, he's a one-man show, so small business to small business pretty much. We're getting up there on the slightly bigger side of business, but
nice.
Always working with Keith. Like I said, he kind of took us underneath his wing and taught us all the proper words for shock tuning that me and Sky knew nothing about until then. And
it is an art.
He's got, and basically I sent him a video while we were in Sturgis as the car has too much body roll, and he sent me back a 2-page thing of things to change on the car without and it worked flawlessly.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
Keith, awesome guy. If you guys ever need your shocks done, definitely
There you
out.
go.
Talk.
When I get a race car, I'll get right on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have Sky build you one if you want.
There you go.
That's right. That's right.
So what's your I know your IG, you got some social media going and stuff. So what's your guys' shout out your IGs here so our listeners can follow you guys and all the cool shit you're doing.
Yeah, mine's Cole_Johnson 4482 on Instagram. So basically I post everything that I do personally, all the fixes that I do, and just obviously race updates and recaps. And then our SCOR page is SCOR, so SXOR Racing, and that's all one word, _U4.
U4,
And,
yep.
And then BC Customs, so on the military side, we just barely started this account, and it's BC Customs Ground Mobility, and it's all just one word basically.
Okay.
And that's where you can pretty well follow any side, and then Sky posts all of his engineering shit that confuses me.
And then I'm Sky Score 4425.
So Sky SXOR, and then 4425 is your car number.
Right
you
on.
got the solid axle car, and then your younger brother gets the nice IFS car there, the 4482.
Yep.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, shoot, we could go more, but we've gone like 2.5 hours
I
here.
know
I
this
think.
is gonna be a long one.
Oh, we are definitely doing a follow up at KOH if you guys are up
Absolutely.
for it.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You guys don't
sure,
like to party, do you, down there or anything? I don't think so. You don't. Yeah.
Sky, everybody parties except for me. So I kind of, I've always had this. I've always had an MO of if we go to a race,
You're all
I'm making
business.
sure- yeah, I wake
Yeah.
up at 7 in the morning and I'm like triple checking the car that we just checked 9 different
Okay.
times yesterday. So,
All right.
All right, so
but,
close out.
Yeah.
and Sky,
No, we're down for sure though.
Yeah.
No, a
So-
party doesn't infer drinking. It's just having a good time down there, right?
Yeah,
Because
campfire,
we-
swapping stories, whatever.
but yeah, for sure. I don't know if we're going to be. The easiest way to find us would be like KOH pit layout on in Hammertown, but we've never camped in there. 'Cause
Okay.
It's always so busy, but now the lake bed's so busy. I'm not sure
Yeah.
what the plan is
Yeah.
next year. So
It's a shit
I'll keep
show.
so you may not be in Hammertown, huh? You might be out in the outskirts.
Well, we've always been on the lake bed. We might be in Hammertown this year. We don't know yet for sure.
Okay.
I had a pit bike racing past my head at 3 in the morning before the race for the last 2 years now. So
Yeah.
Well, we set up a huge camp. We almost had an acre roped. I bet we had about an acre roped off.
easily.
We had a few race teams with us. We had like 70 people in our camp per se. There was like all these different groups. It was super cool. We're right across from the Ultra 3 racing. You know, the big pyramid that's just outside of Hammertown there. Yeah, so the Ultra 3 people we've hooked up with, they're super fun. So we're right across from their camp, but yeah, it's Hammertown Heights Estates is what we named
Hammertown
it.
Heights
We
Estates.
actually had an official sign this year, so it was designated as GPSed and everything by Google. No,
Nice.
but it was super cool. But yeah, no. Anyways, we'll connect with you guys. Definitely wanna see each other firsthand here and what you're building. And I mean, it's super cool, innovative,
yeah.
and
we
I love your
always have
story.
military cars out there too, also. So
Do you really? Okay.
yeah,
With a
yeah,
50
we
cal
chase
on it?
Those basically.
Yeah,
like
is the 50 cal on it? Did we get to fire those off on the range or anything?
I don't think the state of California would.
right.
Yeah.
That's all Mexico out there. It doesn't count. It doesn't count. That's part of Mexico.
All right, gentlemen. it
What
was-
happens at King of the Hammers stays at King of the Hammers, right, Chris?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So
Until
do you
the-
give free rides out in there, the military vehicles or anything, or?
I can give you a free ride out. there.
Okay, cool.
Oh boy.
I want to go. I don't know if I want to ride with you though. I think I'd rather ride with Sky personally, but we'll see.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. So
Right on, guys. I appreciate your time. Super cool story. It will be continued. Super innovative, and love what you're doing for our troops fighting for our freedom, giving them a tool to get injured warriors out. And man, hats off to you guys. And you're obviously grinding it out and part of the American dream and fighting for the American dream. So love it, guys, man. Thanks. Keep doing what you do.
Yeah,
thank you. This was an awesome experience. So
yeah. Thank you for having us on here and being able to kind of tell our story. So thank you for that. This has been awesome.
Got a hell of a story to tell.
So. Absolutely, our pleasure.
Yeah. So we'll this isn't the ending. We'll just there'll be a second part at least to this podcast. So love it. Right on, guys. Well, you have a good night, and thank you for your time and your info, man. It's just a great freaking story.
Good night, and see you on the lake bed.
Yeah, see you on the lake bed. Sure. All right. Well, here it is. That wraps up the SXOR BC Customs.
So much information.
There is more to come on this, and I know we're going to follow up with them at KOH. I can't wait to meet them in person.
Yeah,
and see the cars in person, and
meet the whole
military
family.
Vehicles. I guess are going to be out there, and
I
may or may not have a ride or want to ride with Cole. I think I'll have Sky drive.
Yeah, that's probably a better
vehicle.
call. That's probably a better. Call.
We still have some rides pending out there with Arturo Soria,
and
Kevin Jones, but that's ex-racer Kevin Jones, so his car is not going to be ready, unfortunately, for 2023. But 2024, I definitely want to get a ride in that TAC 1 Fab chassis there that Carlos started building there, and Jonesy is modified for Ultra 4.
Yeah.
So for the 4800 class. But anyways, super cool stuff. I mean, I can't wait to see their shop in person too, and what they're doing, and America, fuck yeah! I mean, the flag that they had hanging in the shop,
it's huge.
And can you imagine the pride in them knowing that they're helping out our military,
made in America, engineered in America, made in America,
helping out Americans,
made with American vendors.
Yeah,
all their suppliers are American.
Yeah,
I mean, it's great.
It's just an awesome story. Again, they're engineering and fab and just ripping up the perpetual book of this is how you're supposed to do it. No, this is how we're doing it, and we're proving it.
Exactly.
We're testing it, and it is working, and we don't need to do it this certain way because the book says do it this way.
We're saving lives with it too.
They really are. I mean, that's really cool. So check them out. Again, Cole_Johnson 4482. You got Sky SXOR 4425. BC Customs, the ground mobility, and then SXOR Racing _Ultra 4 U4. So SXR Racing _U4
That's
on
right.
the gram there, and they are on Facebook as well. But what a cool American story! So glad we were able to connect with them and get their story out there.
Oh,
and, yeah. So definitely looking forward to future
King of the Hammers
podcast with them and KOH. Yes,
Lake Bed,
seeing them race. So
fucking Boone Road.
I'm fucking Boone Road. The desert. It's interesting to hear them talk about racing Baja, which is all desert, and then the comparison to the desert and Johnson Valley and how they're saying it's tougher. And wow. That's a statement right there. So
I wonder if some of that had to do with their. Well, it sounds like their shocks might have been set, or I don't know. I mean, but I'm sure it's a beater.
God,
get it beat up pretty bad.
Car wreck.
Yeah, it's a car wreck.
It's a 9-hour car wreck.
So I have nothing. I can't compare. I've been in a car crash, and
you have been in a car crash, and you're still reeling from that.
Oh well, my back still hurts from it, but not as. It's better every day.
Yeah.
So, that's super cool. Glad we got to meet them. And wow, I think we're going through puberty.
Losing your voice. It's been a long night.
Yeah.
It's like the Snail Boys recording marathon episodes, right?
They do 10 episodes at one sitting, I think.
On the cuddle couch.
Ooh. There's no
You've
cuddle.
been on that cuddle couch.
No, I have not.
Oh, okay.
I've never been to their studio.
Lorenzo doesn't even go near their studio. He's afraid of Jimmy.
That's right.
So,
all right.
rightfully so.
Well, if you want to get a hold of Jason or I, you can email us at Chris or Jason at wheelingwinewhiskey.com. Don't ever forget about our Instagram. It's at Wheeling Wine Whiskey.
Right.
And then our website's wheelingwinewhiskey.com, which has all of our links and all of our old episodes, has a merchandise link and also a link to iRate 4x4. You want to talk about that?
Got to hit up iRate 4x4, man, because all our episodes are there. You can comment on the individual episodes. You can, if you feel gracious enough to throw a little chinga our way, as Chris puts it. There's a way to contribute to the podcast and help us out with the equipment and defray cost, because nothing is free in America, as we know. Super cool. And hit us up on our phone number, our Google phone number that will go straight to voicemail. Lorenzo will not answer.
We have thick skins,
to answer.
too. We really do.
408-800-5169.
Yeah, don't forget, that's 408-800-5169. Our skins are thick.
Yeah, and we get, apparently we're the complaint line for not only Snail Trail, but also the Total Off-Road podcast, too.
Are we?
Yeah, they just put us up as the complaint line as well.
Shit.
So,
wow.
I'm
so far behind.
Whatever.
On my
Bring it on,
podcast
boys. It's all good. Payback's a bitch. I got some things planned for KOH, so look out. Anyways, so yeah, good stuff. And man, super cool. We're having fun with this podcast and getting to interview people like Cole and Sky from
hearing about the
SXOR,
history of your
BC
car
Custom,
and everything. So
yeah, right on, man. So anything else, Chris?
I don't think so. I got nothing.
I got nothing else.
All right, we're out.